Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and connoisseurs of the written word. Today, we are going to talk about a word that William Shakespeare put to a rather subtle use, subtle, subtle use. Now, we all know, indeed, the whole world knows that William Shakespeare was a great dramatist, a great playwright. Okay, that everybody knows. What people don't know is that Shakespeare was not just a great dramatist, he was also a great scholar. And why do I say that? I say that because Shakespeare deployed a vocabulary of nearly 30,000 words. 30,000, 30,000, 30,000. You know, few of us possess a vocabulary of more than 5 or 6,000 words. But Shakespeare actually used a 30,000 word vocabulary, which is why his pieces are not just, or rather, his plays are not just dramatic masterpieces, they're also technical masterpieces. Okay, you're dealing with a man who is a master not just of truth but also of technique. I know some of you will object and say that some of the truths he gave us were cliches, obvious, truths, even truisms. That said, his 38 or 39 odd plays embody quite a few rather subtle truths. And not just subtle truths, we also have subtle words, and one such word is the word quietus. Let us write it out. Q U I E T U S. That's a rather weak S. That's right. Let's darken it. Right. So we have this word quietus. Okay, there it lies. Quietus. 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 What does it mean? Well, it has actually three different meanings, but Shakespeare used it in one particular context. And that context is death. Now, death is a word none of us really like. All of us want to live, obviously. So, when we use the word death, it has a very heavy intonation to it. It has a very heavy and dramatic, impact to it, import to it. So, death is a word you would not like to use for a gentle soul who has passed away. We have all met people like that, people who are really quiet, very ethereal, and to say they died on so and so day would somehow sound, incommensurate with the silence that pervaded their lives. Okay, we would like to use a more quiet word, a more gentle word, a more silent word, and that word is quietus. Okay, it sounds quiet, quietus, calm and quiet. So we could say that so and so, who's a great scholar or a great scientist, made his quietus on, say, February 17th, 1998, for instance. You wouldn't want to say that a great scientist died. I mean, people who are that quiet don't die, they quietly slip away. They slip away in silence. And in fact, if you read the biography of one of the great British scientists, I think his name was Joule. Was it Joule? No, it was Joseph Black, correct. Uh, Dr. Joseph Black was a famous scientist who discovered, I think, latent heat. And he lived a life of such quietness that when he died, or more accurately, made his quietus from life, uh, he was sitting in a chair and drinking from a cup of coffee. He put down his cup onto the saucer, all this while being seated, mind you, and died and passed away. I mean, this was about as silent a passing as you could possibly have. Yeah, a gentle soul who quietly slipped away, who quietly expired, without a lot of noise, without a lot of drama, without a lot of crying, without a lot of screaming, nothing, very quietly. So you could say Dr. Joseph Black made his quietus on such a particular date. I don't remember the date of his death, but a very great scientist, very gentle soul. And even his students never made a noise when he was giving a lecture simply because they were in awe of his silence. Okay, so for a person like that, and we have met people like that, poets, scientists, scholars who have lived lives of silence. You would not want to say he died. I mean, it's such a loud word, died. It's makes it sound as though he was thrashing and writhing when he died. We would like to say instead that they made their quietus on a particular date. Okay, so that is the word that Shakespeare uses in one of his plays in a very famous passage. I'll leave it to you to discover what that passage is, but it's a very famous passage. And he uses this word quietus, a quiet, calm way of dying, a quiet, silent way of dying, quietus. Okay, so that is one meaning of quietus. Is there any other meaning? Yes, there are two other meanings which are not that frequently used, but which nonetheless you should know because you could also use it in those contexts to a powerful effect. For instance, when someone retires from their office or they are discharged from their office after a lifetime of service, you could say he made his quietus from his job in the year 1760. Okay, so that is one use of the second use of the word quietus. And now we come to the third use of the word quietus, and that refers to the discharge of a debt, a monetary debt. Let us say you owe somebody money, and you are repaying that money back to him. Then you say, uh, he made a quietus of the money that he had owed to Mr. X or Mr. Y, whatever. Okay, his quietus was long in coming. He took a long time in repaying the debt. So his quietus was long in coming, but it was finally accomplished. Okay, so that is the third usage of the word quietus. So the first usage is famous because it was made famous by William Shakespeare. The other two meanings that it has, the other two usages that it has, are not quite so famous, but they can be used very effectively there too. We all know people who do their jobs quietly, silently for 40, 50 years. So you would not want to say that such a person retired. It sounds really grating on the ear. You could say he made his quietus after 40 years of service. That would be more in consonance with the quietness that characterized him when he was working those 40 years, without getting into any arguments with people, very reserved, very silent. So you could use it in any area where you want a measure of gentleness in describing the exit or the leave taking or whatever. Okay, it doesn't have to imply death. It could imply any passing, going from one point to another point, going from one stage of life to another stage of life. You could say, I made my quietus from teenage without too much turbulence. It was a gentle transition to adulthood. Okay, so there are a variety of ways in which this word quietus can be used. So next time someone you know of who is famous, or someone you knew of who was a gentle, quiet, kind soul, passes away, you could say that he made his quietus from life and went into the afterlife. Because the afterlife does exist. So, in a sense, quietus is really not a death, it's a passing, a transition, a quiet passing from one stage to another stage. So, it means death, but it's a more gentle way of saying somebody died. Okay, folks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I give you this lovely word, Quietus, quietus, a noun, a nice noun. Okay. So, all right, I guess I'll sign off for now and we'll get to another word in the next video. Bye.